Hello, everyone. Hi, everyone. How are you? Good. Okay. Excellent. Just want to test to make sure everyone can hear me okay. Yes? Okay, good. All right. All right. It's Thursday night. The weekend is right ahead of us. I always get very excited on Thursday nights. Well, CCP's internal power struggle appears to have reached a breaking point, so much so that the PLA has reportedly being deployed to Beijing to maintain order. Rumors are circulating that Zhang Youxia has sent as many as 500,000 field troops to be nearing the capital, either into the capital or near the capital. One video shows armored vehicles moving through Beijing's Chang'an Boulevard at night. And let me play that video for you because this is all over the Chinese. Let me see. Here we go. Yeah. Okay. Let me play this video. So I muted the audio so I can talk. So this video was uploaded to Xiaohongshu, the Red Note, and was quickly removed. It's now spreading on X. There are different types of vehicles in the video, but they're all covered up by a soft blue cover with words "Road Inspection Vehicle" printed on them. Somehow their wheels are also covered up, and people don't believe they are road inspection videos at all. They suspect these are tanks and military armored vehicles. If you pay close attention, you will see that, let me play again. You will see that the lights are also turned off. Yeah, so the lights are turned off. So they have another row of trucks driving side by side next to them to guide these mysterious looking vehicles. So what do you think? Chris, can we post the survey now? Do they look normal to you, first of all? Let's do a survey. Do you think the covered up vehicles are 1, military vehicles, 2, road inspection vehicles, or 3, you're not sure? Okay. All right. So, all right. Let me come back. So things are not peaceful in Zhongnanhai. And we know the Chinese military is now controlled by Zhang Youxia. Where is this guy? Here we go. Is that him? Oh, where? Let me remove this. I don't know. These computers, they got stuck. Do I see him? Oh, there we go. Yeah. Okay. Here we go. That's better. Okay. Multitasking for Lei. All right. So we know he is controlling the military, and he's also one of the last standing princeling in the CCP. So to comprehend what's going on, we must understand Xi Jinping's relations with the princelings. So today, I want to share with you an explosive report written by a red princeling. In a 6,000-word essay, he offers a psychological profile of Xi Jinping and an insider's view of Xi's complicated relationship with the princeling class. The author remained anonymous, and so he passed the report to a Chinese YouTuber to release. A lot of people are trying to figure out Xi Jinping, but most of them are like blind men feeling an elephant, grabbing at parts without ever seeing the full picture. That's a Chinese expression. I don't know if that makes sense in English. So to truly understand Xi's actions, this princeling argues, we have to start with his personality. And this isn't just coming from an outside observer. The writer himself is an insider, and he says he knows this elite group inside out, their worldviews, their values, how they behave, what they think. He said very few people on the outside truly understand what defines these people. And that's why he felt compelled to speak out. And I find his analysis extremely insightful. Um, and if you take a step back and look at how China's political situation has shifted in the past year, it all starts to make sense once you understand Xi Jinping's character. Okay, so the essay begins with a simple idea. He said, under communism, there is a built-in reverse elimination mechanism. The more normal or decent someone is, the quicker they are pushed out. And when you add in all the so-called CCP characteristics, oh, sorry, I should have muted this. And when you add in all the so-called CCP characteristics, the system becomes not just corrupt, but downright evil. And to get to the top of the CCP, you don't need to be good. You need to be bad. And that alone shows just how deeply the party's selection system goes against human nature and against all reason. So Xi Jinping, he says, is the perfect product of this twisted system. But here's the thing. Xi Jinping is not bad in the usual sense. His flaw isn't that he's scheming or he's sinister, although I think he is. But that's just the view of this author, this princeling, okay? So the author said that his badness comes from being both slow-witted and stubborn. If he were just dumb, he might make mistakes, but at least he could learn. He might even listen to advices. But because he's also incredibly stubborn, once he picks a direction, even the wrong ones, he just keeps going, no matter how much damage it causes. And that's why he can be totally destructive. And the author breaks down Xi's core personality flaws into 4 words: inferiority or insecurity, cowardice, hypersensitivity, and stubbornness. Put them all together, and you get the twisted, contradictory character of Emperor Xi. Now you might wonder what do you mean by inferiority? Could someone like Xi, born into a powerful revolutionary family with a seemingly smooth political career, possibly feel inferior or insecure? But the author says that's exactly what makes him tick. He explains the red princelings, or the second generation elites, form a very special class in China. And within that group, there's a hierarchy. So you see their parents join the revolution at different points in time. Some fought with the Red Army in the early days. Some joined during the war against Japan. Others during the Civil War leading up to 1949. But only those whose parents were in the Red Army from the beginning are considered true princelings. Their families are seen as the founding bloodline of the regime. In the eyes of the red elite, they are the real masters of China, the true ruling class. Everyone else is measured by how much of that elite bloodline they carry. And this group isn't just any layer of the party's bureaucracy. It's more like an exclusive brotherhood, bound by unspoken rules. Now, we all know the CCP system is a ruthless meat grinder. It chews up humanity and spits out cruelty. Rising through the party ranks is basically a contest to see who can be the most cutthroat. But the princelings, they don't have to play that rule. I mean, they don't have to play that game. They float above the system. As individuals, they could get cushy jobs through family connections. That let them keep some trace of human decency, according to this author, because they never had to go through the full political grinder. But that also meant they didn't usually rise too far, which is why a lot of them choose chose to go into the military instead. In the early days, the military was relatively straightforward. If you had the right family name, you could advance quickly. When Deng Xiaoping came to power, another path opened up: business. Many princelings jumped at the chance. They used their networks to build personal empires or took quiet positions in associations and think tanks, carefully pulling strings from behind the scenes. But the goal was always the same: stay out of the CCP's meat grinder, avoid the internal bloodbath of party politics. Very few princelings went into politics, and even fewer climbed high. Why? Because doing that meant you had to be bad, really bad, and you had to want it. So the smart ones went into the military or business. The dumb ones, according to the author, went into politics. So let's look at a few names you probably recognize. This is the princeling. This is the Red Army. Okay, here's one. Zheng Qinghong is one. His father was a undercover CCP agent in Shanghai during World War II, during the war with Japan, and also later. So Zheng was born into a family of spies, and he grew up in a world of shadowy manipulation. This man is very calculating and ruthless. He's perfect for the CCP's dark, twisted machinery, according to this author. And then you got Bo Xilai, another princeling who is bad to the bone. He didn't just survive in that system, he thrived, but he went way too far. He is the one who started the horrifying practice of live organ harvesting, initially from Falun Gong practitioners, and later this practice targeted other prisoners of conscience. And now it even targets ordinary citizens. So that atrocity began with Bo Xilai. He was also wildly arrogant, even delusional, and managed to make enemies in every faction. So when karma finally came knocking, no one came to his defense, according to the princeling. Another one is Wang Qishan. He is in a different class. Technically, he's only half a princeling because he married into a red elite family. In practice, he was more of a technocrat than a princeling, but he's considered one of them because this man is extremely intelligent. And finally, we get to Xi Jinping. All right, so Xi didn't rise through being cunning or ruthless. He rose through sheer mediocrity. And let's be blunt, dull-wittedness. That's what the author claimed. He wasn't sharp enough for business, not strategic enough for the military. The only path left for him was politics. And according to the author, the princeling class developed a very distinct personality. They tend to be confident, sometimes arrogant, and they carry themselves with pride. Groveling and flattery, that's not even in their vocabulary. So in theory, this should be the last group in China to suffer from feelings of inferiority. But inside that world, there is still a pecking order, a silent, invisible hierarchy that isn't in Xi Jinping's favor. So those whose father fought in the Central Red Army looked down on those whose families joined local militia. So Xi Jinping's father, Xi Zhongxun, was in that category. He was from the bandit-filled hills of northern Shanxi. So to the princeling elite, that made him low tier. He's not considered pure blood. And then on top of that, military princelings always looked down on those in politics. And none of Xi Jinping's siblings served in the military. So when the generation came of age, the ones who went into business or joined the army looked down on the ones who went into politics. And Xi Jinping had no choice. He was at the bottom of that invisible chain of prestige. Now, to be fair, this hierarchy wasn't everything. In the end, people still judged each other by character. But Xi Jinping, being overly sensitive, timid, and deeply petty, felt it all, and it cut deep. So in a group that values competence, charisma, and relationships, Xi Jinping didn't do very well. He had none. His father was sidelined by Mao very early, so the family's influence was limited. He was awkward, inarticulate, not particularly good looking, and worst of all, slow. So naturally, nobody wanted to spend time with him. That's within this princeling circle. Most of his princeling peers ignored him completely. And that kind of social isolation left scars. It wounded his fragile ego and distorted the way he saw the world, shaping the behavior that would later define his rule. Now, interestingly, the author points out that the trauma Xi Jinping endured during the Cultural Revolution wasn't a shadow that haunted him. It's quite the opposite. He seems to remember it as a happy time. According to the princeling, there were 3 distinct moments in his early life when he experienced what he considered joy. There were twisted moments when he felt like he could finally escape his inferiority complex and be in control. The first was during the Mao era. Mao was revered as a god, and during the Red Guard years, Xi Jinping finally felt free. He was no longer mocked or looked down on. For once, he was spirited, unleashed, and accepted. His peers forgot how slow he was and treated him like one of them. And on top of that, he got to smash things, raid homes, and release his bottled up frustration, all with official approval. That to Xi was the most liberating, joyful time of his life. In one of his earlier interviews, Xi Jinping recalled a moment on the train being sent with other students to the countryside, leaving their comfortable life in Beijing behind. Every kid on that train was crying, bidding farewell with their parents, except Xi Jinping. He said he was the only one smiling because he was just happy that he could leave Beijing. So that one image says a lot. His warped worldview started right there. And the second time was in Liangjiahe, the remote village in Shanxi where he was sent to be a laborer. Do I have a picture? Oh, no, I don't. Maybe here. So far from the elite kids who made him feel small, he found a different kind of recognition there. The peasants looked up to him because he was from Beijing. They respected him, and that admiration meant everything. That kind of validation made him feel powerful. Notice something else? Xi Jinping often mentioned his Liangjiahe experience, but he rarely talked about his time at Tsinghua University after Liangjiahe, the one period that should shine on his resume. He barely mentions his classmates in college, and he almost never talked about his college years. Why? Well, because deep down, he knows he wasn't particularly bright. And for him, college life was humiliating. Only he knows how crushingly insecure and miserable he felt. So it was also in Liangjiahe where he met Wang Qishan. And that's where their friendship started. Wang would later become one of his most important allies. Back then, Wang wasn't a princeling and didn't look down on him. But then later they say after Wang rose to be one of the top leaders, he couldn't hide his disdain, and therefore he had to be reprimanded. So the third happy time came when Xi Jinping became the party secretary of Zhending County in Hebei. There we go. This was his first political post. Now, far from the elite circles that mocked him, Xi Jinping finally became the big boss. He was the center of attention, the most important person in the room. So it was there he met Li Zhanshu, another man who played an important role in his rule. And this princeling said Li Zhanshu perfectly matched Xi Jinping's definition of loyalty, which is completely incompetent but genuinely devoted. Sorry, I have to take a sip of water. I thought that was too funny. That's Xi Jinping's definition of a perfect subordinate. Completely incompetent and genuinely devoted. Anyway, so Li Zhanshu would go on to become the only person in Xi Jinping's inner circle who walked away unharmed. So even though the other princelings looked down on Xi, they still consider him one of them. Early on, they helped Xi Jinping eliminate political rivals. But the problem is Xi Jinping never returned the favor. He used the princelings, then tossed them aside. Why? Because deep down, he felt insecure and could still feel their contempt. And his hypersensitivity and pettiness cannot tolerate even the slightest hint of mockery. And the author puts it this way: if you can look at him the way a dog looks at its master, with total submission, then you're out. So that's what makes serving Xi Jinping so difficult. Anyone with a sense of dignity will eventually trigger his insecurities. And when someone suddenly gets purged, the author said, don't waste your time looking for a logical explanation because there is none. It's probably because they slipped up, maybe let a flicker of disrespect across their face. And that's why. So he said, Xi Jinping virtually has no real friends, and definitely none among the princelings. They all look down on him, and it doesn't matter how much power he gains. And that disdain never goes away, and Xi Jinping painfully knows it. That's why he really promotes princelings. And when he does, it never ends well. Just take a look at these three men, right? General Liu Yuan, Liu Yazhou, and Zhang Youxia, all princelings, all sidelined, or locked up, or fighting with him. As for people outside the princeling circle, he said Xi looks down on them too. His arrogance runs just as deep. His personality is a twisted blend of insecurity, arrogance, and unchecked power. And so he said in the beginning of Xi's political career, he had no grand ambitions. He was just trying to survive. Before he was crowned Emperor Xi, he had no real achievements to speak of. His only asset, which is admirable, is endurance. You have to give him credit for his ability to stay low-key and endure. He stayed out of trouble by staying out all the major factions. But he said not by strategy, but because no one wanted him. He was just too dim. Normally, a man like him would have capped out at a provincial position. But history sometimes turns on one word, however. Okay, so however, his rise was full of ironies. His mediocrity, his incompetence, his harmlessness, dopey vibe, he said, and his princeling background made him the perfect compromise among intense factional politics. Every faction thought they could control him. He was supposed to be a placeholder, but they were all wrong. He turned out to be the grave digger of the entire system, and now every faction regrets it deeply. No one imagined that this man, who isn't smart at all, would be the one to wipe them all out, but that's what he did. And the irony is, Xi Jinping doesn't even understand what he has destroyed. The CCP survived all these years because of a delicate balance between factions. That internal struggle kept it alive. The last person to eliminate all factions and seize total control was Mao Zedong. But Mao earned that power. He created a real cult of personality, crushed every threat, and had extraordinary political skill. He was a ruthless genius, the only one the Red Princelings ever respected. Now, Xi Jinping wants to be Mao. He's trying to build a cult around himself. But to the princelings, he's a joke, a naked emperor. In fact, one princeling actually made that comment. Ren Zhiqiang, remember he was a real estate tycoon. He called Xi Jinping a naked emperor. And then he was locked up. He was given an 18-year prison sentence just because he made that comment. But bizarrely, Xi Jinping ended up with even more power than Mao Zedong. So the question is, how did he do it? Well, here's the weird part. The tricks he used were incredibly simple. That is, the trick he used is being direct, almost primitive, but that worked. Not because he's clever, but because everyone else in the system overthought it. Xi Jinping, in all his dullness, simply outpaced them by doing the obvious and by being direct, being ruthlessly direct. So the princeling calls Xi Jinping living in a different dimension. He even jokingly said, smart people don't understand the mind of a fool who's amazingly simple but happy. That's what he said. So in factional politics, his simplicity worked because no one saw it coming. Everyone overthought, overanalyzed, overstrategized. And by doing that, they missed everything that Xi Jinping did. But in actual governance, Xi's simple approach has been a disaster. Wherever he points, chaos followed. And his advisors, they lie to him constantly, feed him fake intel, manipulate his ignorance, which only deepens the dysfunction. Now, once Xi Jinping consolidated total power, his guiding emotion became revenge, especially against the princelings who once made him feel worthless. Other than princelings, there were two individuals in the world who can trigger Xi Jinping's sense of insecurity. Who are they? Here we go. These two men. This is according to the princeling. Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin both have absolute confidence that intimidates Xi Jinping. Trump's ego and commanding presence made Xi incredibly uncomfortable. In fact, there's a viral clip where Xi behaved like a student. Let me play that to you. I have actually uploaded. Oh, here we go. It's very short. Hold on, let me start from the very beginning. Let me play this. This was from 2017 when Trump visited China, and this was in the Forbidden City. And Chinese said that this is the video that showed, like she behaved like a student and put his hands down when Trump took a glance at him. I'll play it again. Did you see that? I didn't. I thought it was okay, but the Chinese, went crazy with this video. They said it just showed this is the Chinese gave this video a title. They said this is the video that Xi Jinping does not want people to see. Anyway, so okay. So yeah. The video went viral in China actually after Trump returned to the White House this January. Yeah, it actually went viral this year. Now, as for Putin, now let me come back. She always felt like he was a step below, and Putin knew it. He never treated Xi Jinping as an equal, let alone a friend. But now that Putin is in a weaker position, he has no choice but to lean on Xi. He plays it nice, but it's just theater. And Xi Jinping loves that dynamic. That feeling of finally being in control and getting the respect, people say, or this princelings say, is one of the reasons he's willing to alienate the entire West just to stand beside Putin. In the end, the author sums it up like this. Xi Jinping is an emotional ruler driven entirely by feelings, but his emotional intelligence is deeply flawed. If he were a regular person, we'd call it a mental or psychological disability. But in his case, it's something worse. He's the ultimate wrecker in chief, the man who ruins everything he touches. And so that brings us to the end of the princelings essay. What do you think? Isn't it a vivid, piercing, and at times dark, humorous portray or analysis of Xi Jinping's mental state of being? I thought it's very, very insightful. And one particular sharp line from the piece says it very well. It says that the Communist Party survives by maintaining balance through internal factional struggle that thrives on reverse elimination. And it was through this warped system that a mediocre figure like Xi Jinping emerged as the black horse that rose to the top. But this bumbling figure would end up becoming the gravedigger of the entire system. So if you really look at it from that perspective, Xi Jinping is doing a great job because he's self-destructing the system from within. Okay, so I gave you the link, the person, the Chinese YouTuber that this princeling sent the essay to. I gave you the link in the description. And if you speak Chinese or have Chinese staff, you could take a look. But I pretty much gave you everything he shared. And I also want to tell you that this week's Looking Glass, in the latest Looking Glass channel, I released a video that made me emotional. It's a video about China's 170-year troubled relations with Russia. And that video talked about the Xi-Putin relations. It's very, very interesting. So that's all. That's all. Let's see. All right. All right, let's see what people have for me. Okay. All right. All right, let's see. Oh. No question? No comments? I want to see the survey results. Can someone give me the survey results? That would be interesting to see. How many of you, what do you think of that, the covered up vehicles that went through downtown Beijing in the middle of the night this week? What do you think? Um, do you think it's military vehicles or road vehicles, or road inspection vehicles? Well, Drusilla, thank you, Drusilla. I saw your interview with John. You were brilliant. You mean Denny? Denny Jones? Okay. CCP is calling Lei to say shh. I'm sure they're watching. Did I tell you that? Did I tell you that the minute I finished my interview with Danny, the moment we stood up, he got a text message, and he asked in Chinese. He asked me what it means. He said he never got a text in Chinese. So he showed it to me. He said, "Well, what does it say?" And it was a fake Amazon text message, because I know Amazon wouldn't send text messages in Chinese. So obviously it's some Chinese sending him a message, and I immediately knew what it meant. It meant to intimidate us. It meant to warn us, saying that the big brother is watching, because it's so random. I mean, think about it. He said he never got a Chinese text, but the moment we finished, the moment we stood up, he got it. So yeah, so when you say the big brother is watching. All right, let's see. Brian Kawa, Brain Cow. Thank you, Brian. Thank you. Okay. I have a stomach ache. It's so weird. All right, let's see. Can someone tell me the survey results? I'm just really curious what you guys think. Do you think that's a military vehicle or not? Someone say, Lei, are you not over analyzing yourself? I'm not analyzing myself. Am I analyzing myself? Okay. All right, let's see. Nobody, 74, 3% and 23%. So very few people believe it's actually road inspection vehicle. The majority of you think it's military vehicles, and about a quarter, less than a quarter, think you're not sure. Okay, all right. Well, thank you. So most people believe there are military vehicles. Otherwise, why would they cover up? Right? Think about, why would they cover up? Why would they go through so much trouble covering it up and not turn on the lights? Because when you don't have the lights, then they need to put in another row of trucks to kind of drive with the tanks, so that the tanks doesn't get lost, so that tanks can see the road. I mean, why do they go through so much trouble? You know, I'm still trying to find out why they have these tanks rolling on Chang'an Boulevard. Someone asked me, Xi Jinping didn't attend the BRICS summit. Putin didn't attend either. Do I believe if India and Brazil have now took control of the BRIC countries? Well, Putin can attend because of he could be arrested, right? And then Xi didn't go because he's prevented from leaving China. I never thought that the BRICS countries was a meaningful alliance. It was only in nominal. I think it only has nominal significance, but without any substance, because these 5 countries couldn't reach any meaningful consensus in terms of economic policies. So I think it's just it's a show. It's a PR show, particularly for China and Russia. And now they're not part of it. So it has become meaningless, in my opinion. Paul Levchuk. Thank you, Paul. It's conventional Western body language terms. She's moving his hands that particular way will be interpreted as I'm hiding something. He's moving his hands. Okay. Are you referring to any body language? Okay, I'm not following that, but thank you for the super sticker. Thank you. Okay, 74%, same percentages. Drusilla again, highly, I think it's military vehicles. Excellent. I agree because I cannot see it being something else. Thank you, Drusilla, again. All right, here's a question from Mugly Other. What do you think will happen with China's desire to take over Taiwan with these changes? That's a great question. That's an excellent question. And we need to get to it sometime. I believe I've addressed that before. To be honest with you, I just feel a little tired today. And do you mind if I address it some other time? Thank you. Oh, here's Drusilla again. Also a bit of off topic. I heard China just tried to bring down a German airliner yesterday using a laser. They have tried this with American airline as well. Have you? Yes, I've heard of this, and I think the EU is very upset. But we don't know. I think the PLA is in such a mess that you wonder who's. It could be Xi Jinping's loyalist intentionally did this to cause trouble for whoever is running the show, for Zhang Youxia. Because I do not believe it's Zhang Youxia's intention to do this. Because he's very pragmatic, he's practical. But sometimes, your opposition would do these things because that's what they did when Xi Jinping was the chairman. But that's just one possibility. It could be many other possibilities as well. If the chain of command is broken, then when the military chain of command is broken, then you have different political loyalties, then this kind of things happen. And so it's hard to interpret. Charles Womack, outstanding. So, okay. All right. Thank you, Charles. All right. Here's a question from Keys Cook. Question: do you think next leader will bring reforms closer to the West or stay hardcore communist? Well, it depends on who the next leader is. It all depends on who the person is. China can, at this point, although it's hard to imagine, but you never rule out the possibility. As long as they try to save the regime, as long as they try to save the party, the CCP, then it's possible that the next leader will be forced to continue the hardcore platform. As long as they want to save the regime, then they will have to stay hardcore communist. So it's hard to say, although I think the chance for that to happen is small. Marcus Garcia, what's your favorite book on your bookshelf and why? What's my favorite book? Probably cookbook at this point. I have been really, I have been really following a lot of cooking channels lately. Maybe I need some distraction from what I do because this work is very intense. I have a fan who sent me an email after after my comment in my last live stream about feeling relieved that I was able to carry a 3-hour conversation with somebody in English because I haven't been talking to a live person in English for a number of years. He was a little concerned. He said, "Well, Lei, you sounds like you don't have friends. You don't socialize, or maybe you have friends. You don't spend enough time socialize with people." Um, what I want to say is, well, I do have friends and I do socialize, but it is a very small circle of people because number one, my work requires my full attention and focus, and number two, I don't feel very safe, going all over the places. To be honest with you, so I stay within a very small circle of friends. So that has been my life for the past couple of years. Um, so so that's why I think cookbooks are my favorite right now. All right, Drusilla again. What do you think of Gordon Chan? I think you are smarter than him. I think people are smarter than me. I don't think I'm smart at all. Yeah, he's one of the well-known China experts who are critical of CCP, and he has been consistently critical of CCP. So I highly admire his work. Um, so somebody asked me, J.R. Williams, what are the odds Xi Jinping is on his way out? It's 100%. He's on his way out. That's 100%. It's just when and how fast that we do not know. All right, I have thanked everyone, I think, who sent me a super sticker. Here's Drusilla again. I don't think Trump will let Xi get away with anything, especially something like the Chinese spy balloon. What do I say? That's probably true. Okay. Well, I thank you very much. I probably should sip some water or some tea. And I thank you for joining me, and I'll see you in a few days. All right. Bye.